Hello, this is Mark from Cedar Creek Bottoms Farmstead.
What'd they tell you to do on a test?
Test. What? Creepy Mountain. Hello, this is Mark from Cedar Creek Bottoms Farmstead coming with you today with another Fireside Tales. Hope everyone's doing okay and hope it's a good day for everybody. As you know, in the last few weeks I've went over different investigations. My first one I told you about my encounter and how I got into researching boogers, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, wild men, whatever you want to call them. Then in the second one I gave you a little history that my mother had told me. And then of course the third one I talked about a friend of mine who was duck hunting on the east side of Sylacauga. And then of course the one last week was about another encounters going on the east side of Sylacauga. But today we're going to start off on Creepy Mountain, aka the hunting club. And let me give you a little background history on this property. That way you'll understand about it. This property is owned by a timber company. It's been owned by a timber company since the 1950s. I do know who the previous landowners were before them, just because of my dad and uncles and other older guys that were in my family and friends of my family. Most of this land's always been wooded. It's very hilly. It's some of the last mountains in Alabama that's over 1,000 feet, besides Flag Mountain just south of Sylacauga, about 20 miles, which is pretty much the last one that's over 1,000 feet. And of course, due east of us, about 15 miles, is Rebecca Mountain, Horn Mountain, which are the taller ones, and pretty much right here where we're at in the Sylacauga area is pretty much where most of it's ending. We live in what we call the Coosa Valley. The Coosa River starts back up way up around Rome, Georgia, after two rivers merge to form it, and they form the Coosa, and it comes all the way down through Alabama, and then finally empties into the Alabama River along with the Tallapoosa River. In between them two rivers is the mountains, so you can kind of, if you look at a map of Alabama, you'll see the three veins of mountains, how one turns, heads in there toward Huntsville and Coleman, one goes straight toward the Birmingham, and then you have this finger, it comes down toward Sylacauga, past Talladega, Anniston, so you can kind of, see that there's like three fingers. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get started. Like I said, it was a timber company. It's been a timber company's land. For years, it was open permit. In other words, you could go to the timber company, buy a permit, and hunt every bit of land they had in Alabama, which is at the time, the company who owned it was Kimberly-Clark Corporation, which, was famous for the Huggy diapers and Kleenex and some of the other brands of paper products. So we used to go buy, a $20 permit and hunt every bit of land they had in Alabama. I've been hunting that property since I was a kid. Mainly going up there deer hunting because it is very hilly. We coon hunted it a lot too. Didn't really go. We went up there bird hunting a few times. Most of you quail populations, do better around farmland and stuff. But in 1996, Kimberly Clark actually had sold out their paper mill here at Chillersburg, and they were selling off their property too, and a company bought it. Pretty much everybody's probably heard of John Hancock Insurance. Well, John Hancock also has timberland. So they ended up buying it, and there's been a company who's been managing that property for them for years, and, but they started leasing out the property. So a group of friends of mine, we all decided, since we all lived around it, to lease it. One reason maybe to keep, and I hate to say this, I know it sounds ugly, but to keep people that's not local out of there. And plus, because it'd be a good place to hunt. It'd be right there at the house for everybody, and we could run our deer, dogs, and coon hunt, and you know, we could control the land a little better. We ended up having to put up gates and stuff, and where I'm going with this is, later on, once I get into Creepy Mountain real good, I'm gonna come back and tell you some things that went on at Creepy Mountain before we knew the Bigfoot was there. That was probably them, and we were encountering them and we didn't know it, because we wasn't looking for that. Some of the sounds and other things that went on during a time period from 96 to 2007 probably was the Bigfoot, more than likely. And plus there's some paranormal stuff up on that mountain. We have witnessed that several times too. There's some other things that go on up there. It's very strange, but later on, I'll be getting Keith to come on camera with me, since he was, me and him, the ones, the first two who really started doing the research on Creepy Mountain in 2007, 8, all the way up to 2013. Of course, we had other people later on that came in. Pat Rance, he came to our first outing that me and Keith put together up there. We had some other people, Miss Flory from Texas, and then later on we had other people come in, and then had some locals come in, and but you're going over time, when I start talking about Creepy Mountain, is it's going to take a while to go through some of these videos, and because there's going to be different people involved and different things that go on, and over time we've had a lot of people come to this property. 2013 we had Finding Bigfoot, and I know everybody's watched that probably on Animal Planet once or twice or something. They came in 2013, done part of their show from the hunting club, and then went down to a friend of mine's property in Coosa County and done some of it there. So and then later on I'll talk about my friend's property in Coosa County. I hadn't even touched on Coosa County yet. We'll be later down the road getting in some stuff from Coosa County, but we're going to start focusing on the Creepy Mountain. But like I said in my first video, where I had my encounter in Lowndes County, Alabama, and then ended up started talking to Mr. Mike Mullane of AlabamaBigfoot.com and Mr. Tall from Arkansas. And of course, Mr. Tall comes to our club, makes a call with elk call, and gets them stirred up. That pretty much was the night that we figured out some of the stuff that went on in the past, probably who it belonged to. So me and Keith, and like I said, I'm going to get him on camera because you need to hear his side of it too. And let him tell you some things that went on with him when he was up there when I wasn't around, and vice versa, and then you can put it together better. But what me and Keith started doing, of course at that time I was working 12-hour shifts, so I was off. I'd work a couple of days, be off a couple of days. So during the week was a good time to go up on the club, because nobody's hardly up there during the week, especially it being summertime. You'd have the few that would come up and go fishing at the lake. There's a 7-acre lake. That's going to be the focus of a lot of this. There's 3 areas that were real focused on the club, and you'll hear me bring them up. Is the lake, the Beaver Pond area, and our number 4 field, green patch. You'll hear them 3 come up pretty regularly, and also you'll hear about road number 9. Those 4 you're going to hear a good bit about in this over time. So just keep in, remember that them are going to pop up fairly regular. So me and Keith, after Mr. Tall had left, went back home to Arkansas, and of course we were communicating with him by phone, by email, and we started going up on the club, and mainly just going up there listening. We'd go to the lake and sit a little while, or the beaver pond, or whatever parts of the club. We'd make calls, and a lot of times we'd get responses. We got some very good responses, and I'll start getting into depth with them. The other thing you will hear is encounters that other club members, most of them are gone now, that we've had encounters or seen something or had weird things happen. Over time, stuff started to evolve, and then of course later on I started finding out too that prior to it being a hunting club, people were seeing stuff up there. They was just keeping their mouth shut about it. So you're going to see this is going to open up into a very, I don't know what the word is for it, but pretty much going to have at least 5-6 good years of investigations going up there and outings and different things. So hope you enjoy it. I guess me and Keith started using something to our advantage up there, and that was because we coon hunted. So with kind of in a roundabout way researching but coon hunting at the same time, and we found out that kind of worked. And why I mean by that is it seems the boogers wasn't, I don't know what the word, I'm going to say maybe they were more comfortable with it, maybe because they thought we wasn't paying them as much attention. I will say we never had a dog hurt that we know of. We always made sure if things got to the point we didn't feel good about it, we loaded our dogs up and left. And I think really what was happening was we was coon hunting for the boogers. I think they realized that, me and Keith, we're not about killing everything we see. Pretty much if I harvest something, it's for to eat. The coon hunting was more for recreation for the dogs, and very, very few times we ever harvested a coon. Typically, if I harvested one, it's because somebody had asked me for one that I work with, or some of the older gentlemen who eat them and stuff. Then I would, harvest them one. So I think, and I can't prove this because it's just my opinion. We were treeing the coons, leaving, and the booger had a free meal waiting up there. I know that sounds ugly, but I think that's what was taking place. I think they used it to their advantage too, and we were using it to our advantage to do some of our research, and we got a lot of good stuff out of that. Keith got a very good recording one night. We'll talk about that later down the road. We've had some just crazy things happen. Coon hunting's where we got our first T-Rex roar, I call it. That's the one that comes and hits you in the chest like a vibration. We got that. There was times our dogs would not hunt. They just refused to hunt a certain area. They'd get out of the box, go in the woods 30, 40 feet, turn around, come right back, went back in the truck, and then you could drive another half a mile away and everything was fine. Had them follow me out at night I mean, one night, me and the dog had one on our heels the whole way to the truck. I mean, the dog kept turning around growling. I kept seeing his eyes. I mean, he was 20, 30 foot behind me. Don't know what he was doing. I don't think he was going to jump on me. I think he just following us, or he was trying to get us out of there. I don't know. He had opportunities to do what he wanted to do, and he didn't do it. So the other thing, aggression on that club, I never have really. Me and Keith and anybody else that I remember hasn't had any really what you call strong aggression toward us. I've been growled at twice. I think Keith has. I know a couple other people have been growled at, or we think was a growl. We don't really know. It might have been a vocal. I don't know. He may have been trying to talk to us. I have no idea. I've had the rocks thrown at me, but not really at me. More like beside me. The little sticks thrown at me. I had one guy up there one night, and later on we'll talk about this. He just had a fit all of a sudden. I was building a fire, and I thought he was going to have a meltdown, and because he kept grabbing me, pointing, and telling me, little sticks kept flying through there at me. So, I mean, just stuff like that. So, I've got to sit down and kind of figure out how to start this off about Creepy Mountain. I mean, I know I'm starting it off now, but what I mean, how to try to keep it in order where it makes more sense. Of course, I lost a lot of my material. In 2013, I had a lot of my stuff on a computer. Went through a divorce. Lost a lot of my material. So that kind of throws a monkey wrench in it for me. I should have been a lot more diligent about saving my stuff and making sure, because I wrote down everything. I wrote down what we did up on the club. Every time we went up there, I'd write down the date, the time, the weather, what was going on. I mean, I considered all those factors, and I lost a lot of that, but it is what it is, and it'll be something I could probably never get to reclaim. Now, Jonathan Odom has helped me tremendously. He's went in and found some of my old reports that I had turned into AlabamaBigfoot.com. And what happened with that was Mr. Mike Mullane come down with cancer and passed away, and his family decided to shut down that website. And when they did, of course, it's still out there, but it's hard to find it, and you have to really dig back. So there were a lot of goof ups on my end. I should have been a lot more diligent, but when you're going through a divorce and you're going through a job change at the same time, and you got kids involved, your mind's not on everything. You're not up to speed. So, that cost me on that stuff. But like I said, we had several outings up there, and I'll talk about those. Like I said, we got different club members that were in at one time and their experiences, what went on, and we'll talk about the different people that's come in. Like I said, I'm hoping to get some of these people on camera with me to tell their parts. We used at one time a good friend Adam. Me and him was going up there regular for a while, putting out recorders, and I'm gonna tell you, the stuff I heard off them recorders, just unbelievable. I imagine Adam still has a lot of that. I imagine he saved it. We found footprints before, me and Keith. We had a good knuckle print and footprint found in a creek bed. Sent it off. Keith still has them, the cast. Real good. He's four-toed too, by the way. He was a young one, or she was. I think it was a female because it did have that curve a little bit right there in the middle of the foot, so it was probably a young female. So a lot of interesting stuff happened. They even started visiting my home at the time, from 2007 up till the divorce in 2013 when we sold our farm. They started coming to the house because I didn't live but a mile and a half away from where everything was going on. They figured out where I lived that real quick. Probably already knew. I know they come down in them bottoms at night. There's some sightings there, peeping toms, as some people call it. Some of the cows disappearing, sometimes goats, things of that nature, chickens. Some of the screaming and hollering that went on late at night. So we'll be talking about all that. It's been interesting since 2007. I've met a lot of good people. Met a few that's questionable, but that's just part of life. I'm not going to sit here and talk bad about them or name them, but I would say in the Bigfoot community, watch who you fool with. You just don't never know. Some people's about fame and money. And they don't care what you think, or they'll step all over you. So just always remember that. Remember who you're dealing with. I've been very fortunate though to be around some good people. Pat, Lori, Jonathan, Adam, Kumbo, and please people forgive me if I can't remember names, but there's been a lot of other people that I've met in the past, and I know they're good people. Willie, that comes with Pat some. So if I forget somebody, don't do it. I'm not doing it on purpose. But you're going to see that this area is very rich in the boogers. You're going to see that the Sylacauga area has several different clans. I told you about the ones on the east side of Sylacauga. They ain't the only ones on the east side of Sylacauga. You got your community of Hollands 10 miles away that has a clan down there. Of course, the ones on the hunting club are kind of on the west side of Sylacauga, and then of course Coosa County, which is just a few miles below Sylacauga, there's a lot of rich history. The town of Childersburg, which is 5 miles from me, 10 miles from Sylacauga, there's some rich history there. Across the river in Shelby County, over in parts of Clay County, which is also part of the National Forest. Chilton County, which is about 20 miles southwest of here, got a rich history. They called him the peach tree monster. He used to go in there and steal peaches all the time. So there's some active history here. I don't know why they are piled up in here like they are. It could be because it is the end of the Appalachian Mountains and you have these two rivers coming in. It could be that something's spiritual about Sylacauga. I know Sylacauga's had some weird things happen in its time. The only place on Earth where a woman recorded on Earth where a woman was hit by a meteorite 400 yards from where I grew up at. Hodges meteorite, you look that up. She got hit, come through the roof and hit her on the hip while she was laying on the sofa taking a nap one day. We have Gravity Hill, which is optical illusion, but you can put your car in neutral and it looks like your car is going uphill. Of course, we have the marble quarries here, largest marble quarries in the world. So there's a lot of quartz limestone here. There was two groups of Indians living here. One of the biggest Indian villages in the U.S. east of the Mississippi River was located in Childersburg. That's where DeSoto was supposed to came through. There's gold here in the ground. So there's some history here. The Creek Indians lived in most of this land. Had some Shawnee come in the 1700s and moved in with the Creeks. So it's got a lot of history here. I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not. One day I will talk about just so I'll go ride and show you some different things. And maybe just do a history one day. Take a little break or something later on down the road, because I love history, so I do stuff like that too. And you'll hear me mix history with this boogering, because it does play a part in it. Well, I guess I need to get off here. I know this hasn't really jumped into what a lot of you want to hear, but it's coming. I just wanted to give you a little base of what's fixing to start getting into. And like I said, I got to sit down and figure out how to start this off right. That way it makes sense. I think you'll enjoy it. There'll be a lot of people's names mentioned. Most of these people gave me permission to use their names, so you'll hear their names. And like I said, hopefully in the future you'll start seeing some of them on here with us. So looks like me and Rebecca's going to have a busy couple of days here. We got to finish our planting. Hoping for a good rain this weekend. It's getting very dry here. But I hope you like what I'm talking about. Give us a like, give us a comment, share, subscribe, but give me some feedback. Ask me some questions. If you hear me mention something and you want me to get more in depth on it, let me know, because next video I do, before I start off into something else, I'll come back and try to answer that if I can, and with my opinion. But because every one of us got an opinion. Like I told you before, I'm not an expert. I'm just an old country boy in Alabama that just happened to see one of these things and then got involved in it. And like I always tell people, it's when reality set in. So you'll hear me say that a lot, because my thinking really went to changing. Well, I hope y'all have a good day. This is Mark from Cedar Creek Bottoms Farmstead, Campfire Tales. Y'all have a good afternoon. Bye.